All right. Well, good morning. Good morning. I have a question for you all. As you know, next week is Derby, and we do have one of these sessions scheduled for that date. However, there's a couple of options. Well, three, I guess. One, we can just have next week regularly scheduled. Two, I can review this week's and next week's problems today. And the third option is to have me record this by myself and have you all look at it for next week, next week's material somewhere during the week. So it is difficult for you to review two chapters that you aren't prepared to review next week, but top of your heads, any thoughts about that? Or
I would suggest, I believe, option 2, where you just do the rest of them for the course and
okay,
just review it next week on our own.
okay. Anybody
I
else?
wouldn't mind to go do it today.
Okay, today. Is that what you wanted, Matthew, actually?
Yeah, for the problem sets for next week to be reviewed today.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you'll have a chance to go back and sort of be near the end. Mary Lou, how about you?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, just to make sure it's you know, I certainly knew when Derby was, I guess last week I knew what it was. But you know, that is an issue around here.
Professor,
so those of you are coming in, yeah, go ahead.
For those that cannot stay the whole period, is there any way possible you can maybe post it so we can go and watch it and review it?
Yes, definitely. And today, instead of reviewing the chapters, I'm going to go straight into the problem set, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. And Mary Lou, I am recording, yes. You're a savior. 2 more weeks, so okay. Problem set 15, disposing of used assets. These 2 chapters are all about the expected profit, expected value, and expected anything is, again, in economics, there's a right word for this. Expected means it hasn't happened, and based upon probability, chances of something happening. So this problem gives you a set of probabilities. They call it random Bayer chance. And it asks you, if you commit to a posted price, what price maximizes profits? So this one is relatively easy because you want to look at the probability of sale. And also, for example, probability of sale of 75%, the price would be $300,000. Now, the reservation value is what the very minimum the company wants to get out of it. So, in other words, that's sort of what it costs them to do. So, for me, I'd rather have a 75% chance of sale and still sell it at $300,000 than only a 10% chance of sale and get $400,000. So the answer there, quite simply, is a price of $300,000 yields the highest expected profit of $37.50. So that's kind of straightforward there. So a sale price of $300,000 yields the greatest expected profit of $37,500. So the answer there, $300,000 price, and the expected profits $37.50. So that's what I'm looking for there. So that's pretty self-explanatory there. Questions about that one? Okay, we'll go on to problem set 16, 18, effects of collusion. Collusion is when companies work together based upon probabilities. So the question is, what is the expected price again? But what if the three bidders collude? In other words, they sit around and appear like they're helping each other, which in the United States is against the law, technically. So this is also a case of an auctioneer bidding things off. Not that doesn't happen either. So effectively, the auctioneer faces two bidders presented to the right. You have a columns there, and we're to find the price. The expected price without collusion is quite simply, again, using probability, is a 1750. This is without collusion, 1750. 1750. And the expected price again is the two prices that would be bid down would be from $20 to $16. The probabilities of the of the $16 is 5/8, $20 is 3/8. So to get the 1750, you just add those two figures up. In other words, 5/8 times $16 plus 3/8 times $20 is 1750. So that's what I'm looking for there, and I'll get to the rest. Now, what if they collude? Let's see. Well, I did that backwards, didn't I? The collusion price is 1750. Sorry about that. I've reversed that. The collusion price is the expected. No, wait a minute. Let me read this again. I'm sorry. I gave it to you right. Sorry about that. The expected price is $17.50. Now, if they collude, it's $16. Of course, if they collude, they don't have to worry about the probability of selling it for $20. They just bid the price down to 16. In other words, they make the auctioneer irrelevant. So let me repeat that again. The expected price is the difference between the probability of the $16, 5/8, plus the probability of getting $20, which is 3/8. And when you add those up, it's $17.50. Now, if they collude, it's $16. In other words, nobody bids $20. They just wait until it's the lowest possible, 16. Anybody want me to repeat that? By now you're able to follow me, I guess, right? Only takes 6 weeks. Okay. So I'll go on to problem set 17 into chapter 19, if that's okay, if anybody has any questions. And let me say let's see, quiz 18, I think it was, had a malfunction, which we fixed. Okay. And if you've noticed on one of the quizzes, I forget the number this week, I misgraded some of them and had to go back and regrade them. So you might see a change, and they were changes up, not down. So, I don't know if anybody noticed that. So that's what that is. Okay, adverse selection. A lot to do with insurance. That's when we don't have all the information we need, and that's why we have regulations and laws to protect us as consumers. Again, adverse selection is just not having enough information, sometimes called symmetric information, as the seller has almost all the information. And insurance is a guard against asymmetric information. So soft selling, 19.5, problem set 17, soft selling, adverse selection. Soft selling occurs when a buyer is skeptical of the usefulness of a product and the seller offers to set a price that depends on realized value. For example, suppose you're trying to sell a company a new accounting system that will reduce costs by 10%. Instead of naming a price, you offer to give them the product in exchange for 50% of their cost savings, 5%. Describe the information asymmetry, the adverse selection problem, and why soft selling is a successful signal, you know, to the buyer. Okay, this is a problem with a bunch of words, not a bunch of words, but I'll point out what we're looking for. Obviously, the seller knows whether or not the product works. The buyer doesn't. So there's asymmetric information right there. Is what's the information the seller knows? They know if it works or not. In other words, one of the reasons we take a car out for a spin, but also take it to a mechanic to see if it works. My son lives in Miami, Florida, and, trying to decide to buy a car, and he's a big Craigslist proponent. And so he asked me, what should he do? It was a $12,000 car on the market that was selling for $6,500. And said, well, you know, bought at auction in Canada and kind of seemed suspicious. So the seller had all the advantages. And at the end of the day, I don't think he allowed Matthew to go check it out. So that's asymmetric information. The buyer is worried that the seller has an incentive to lie, of course, to tell him that the product will reduce cost regardless of whether they will or not. The buyer signals the quality of his product by offering to pay only if it works. Okay, there's the signal, is I'm not going to buy it until it works, just like the car situation. A seller who knows his product didn't work around, a seller who knows his product doesn't work would not find it profitable to offer this type of contract. So the answer is, one, the asymmetric information is the seller knows if his product works or not. The signal is, I'll buy it if it works, okay? And number three, if a seller knows that the product doesn't work, he's not to accept that type of offer, okay? Again, there's no set price. There's negotiation going on. The answer is three parts. And it's a real life situation. So if you offer somebody to only pay them if it works, then they don't take it, you know, there's a problem. Questions about that? Anybody want me to repeat that? I'm glad we're doing this because these aren't that difficult.
Can you repeat
Yes.
the
Yes.
third part of that?
Sure. I'll start with the signal. The signal is, I'll buy it if it only works. That's the signal to the seller. The signal means this is my next offer. If I'm the seller and I know the accounting system doesn't work, or cannot produce a 10% reduction in cost, I am not going to accept the contract of I'll pay for it from the buyer. I'll pay for it if it works. So in a nutshell, the seller won't offer the product if it doesn't work at that settlement. Now, if you're an insurance person, you'll like this one, automobile insurance. So if everyone's ready for that one, it's your last problem set 18. Suppose that every driver faces a 1% probability of an automobile accident every year. An accident will, on average, cost each driver $10,000. Suppose there are two types of individuals, those with $60,000 in the bank and those with $500,000 in the bank. Assume that the individuals with $5,000 in the bank declare bankruptcy if they get an accident. In bankruptcy, creditors receive only what the individuals have in the bank. What is the actuary fair price for the insurance? Actuary, anybody an insurance person? No, everybody's shaking their head. That's what, a group of people that work for insurance companies that figure out what's the probability of getting paid back from the insurance. In other words, what's the risk of a person? Okay, so one question is, what's the fair price? What price are individuals with $5,000 in the bank willing to pay for the insurance? Okay, well, those with $5,000 in the bank voluntarily purchase insurance. What is the effect of state laws forcing individuals to purchase automobile insurance? Good question. Why do we have to buy that? Okay, so here is the fair price, 1% of $10,000. It's going to cost each driver $10,000. So there's a 1% chance that'll happen. So the price of the insurance is $100. I wish it were. So the answer to the first part is $100. 1% times 10,000. Now, people with $5,000 in the bank, are they willing to pay? What are they willing to pay for the insurance? Well, they have $5,000 in the bank, and the chance of their accident is 1%, so they pay $50. Why is that the case? Well, if they declared the bankruptcy, they can't afford the $10,000. All the bank gets is what they have in the bank. So that's all they have to lose. So why would they want to pay any more? Okay. They have fewer assets to lose, and so they only pay. So at the fair price of $100, they wouldn't voluntarily buy the insurance. People with less assets to lose aren't willing to pay the fair price, so the state has to enforce. And so, that should make sense that if we're worried about if somebody hits us and they have no assets, we have to worry about whether they have insurance or not. And that's still a problem. That should make sense for you. So the answers are, fair price is $100 because the average cost of auto repair or whatever, $10,000. 1% chance, so the fair price is $100. But if you only have $5,000 in the bank, you only have $5,000 to lose. So you're willing to pay 1% of 5,000, which is 50. And the bottom line is you have fewer assets to lose, less money to lose, so you have lower demand. You're just willing to pay $50. So that's why states have to try to enforce people buy insurance. So there you go. The final exam is a compilation of of questions you've had before, and I will definitely put this on the next go around for the course, but I will put example problems up for that. That doesn't happen until next week, but I'll put those on a little earlier if they're helpful. Anybody have any questions?
No.
I'm glad we went through both weeks. Yeah. So at the end of the day, we won't have one of these next week. But if you have any questions or anything for the next 2 weeks, be sure to email or anything like that. Again, thank you very much for being in the course. Fill out the evaluations, and you all did very, very well, and you'll do well on the exam. And finish up strong.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much.
Y'all have a good
Welcome.
day.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.